To Anthony Albanese now is taking questions.
The end point. It could be a point on the way to the two-state solution. Since then, we've seen countries, including the United Kingdom, France and Canada, make declarations that they would be making a statement at the United Nations in September. We have said as well that we will declare, based upon the commitments that have been received by the Palestinian Authority. The other things that have occurred in recent weeks are, as I have just said, the declaration at the meeting convened by France and Saudi Arabia. I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu last week and indicated to him the direction that Australia was headed. Prime Minister Netanyahu, before yesterday's statement, made comments by the Australian government, and before our cabinet met, made comments based upon the discussion that I'd had with him.
But was there any particular assessment that was highlighted more than another? For example, was it more about those other countries changing their position or the Palestinian Authority's promises?
We make assessments based upon the totality of what is before us. The commitments from the Palestinian Authority have been important. The declarations by other countries means that there is momentum towards a two-state solution and towards the international community making that position clear. The other thing that is occurring is, of course, the decision by the Israeli government to double down on its military solution without a political solution being advanced or forwarded by the Netanyahu government, with the decision that they've made to go in and to occupy Gaza City. We have seen too many innocent lives being lost. If we continue to do the same thing, you will get the same outcomes. The international community is saying that we need to stop the cycle of violence. The best way to do that is to work towards what the solution is, what the international community have said the solution is. For many decades now, it has been a bipartisan Australian government's position of support for two states in the Middle East. One of those states is Israel, the other state is Palestine. We need to make sure that Hamas is isolated. The comments by Arab League nations have made it clear that that is their position as well. President Trump has made it very clear that he wants to see peace in the region. Australia wants to see peace in the region. We make our sovereign decisions as a nation-state in Australia's national interest, and we are aligning ourselves with like-minded countries.
You spoke earlier today about Netanyahu's denial in the consequences for innocent people. What else did you have to say to Netanyahu when you did speak to him and tell him Australia's position on this?
Well, it was a conversation which reflected the conversation that I had with him in 2014, and I expressed to him my concern that he was putting the same argument that he did in 2014, that military action against Hamas would produce an outcome. That hasn't produced an outcome. What it's produced is a lot of innocent lives, tens of thousands of innocent lives being lost. I expressed my concern about the blocking of aid that occurred as a conscious decision by the Israeli government earlier this year. And since aid was recommenced, the issues that have created that we've seen played out on our TV screens every night. People starving, people losing their life queuing for essential food and water. This just cannot continue into the future without an end point. And the international community is coming up with an end point, which is how do we resolve this? How do we get a permanent, secure position? There can't be freedom and the aspirations of Palestinian people for their own state fulfilled, without also providing security for the State of Israel.
What faith do you have in the Palestinian Authority's ability to deliver on some of those conditions, for example, demilitarising and also being able to hold elections, given what we can see on the ground is the state of that area?
Well, the Palestinian Authority, of course, have made those commitments, but importantly as well, Arab nations in the region have made those commitments as well. What we need is a normalisation of relations between Israel and the states which surround it to provide security for the State of Israel, and we need the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people for their own state to be fulfilled.
Polling shows that the PA is unpopular amongst Palestinians themselves. They're rife with corruption, and most experts argue they've rarely resembled a functioning authority. Do you trust that they'll listen to these conditions?
I'm not sure how you poll in Gaza at the moment. It would be an interesting exercise. But what people in Gaza want clearly is for peace to come out. And when people have clearly uprisen against Hamas, Hamas needs to be isolated, Hamas needs to be disarmed, the State of Palestine needs to be created in a way that provides also security for Israel. And we saw in October 7 that Israel, in spite of the fact that it has one of the biggest security regimes of any country in the world, the atrocities that occurred on October 7 were reprehensible, have been condemned consistently by Australia, and have been condemned now by all of the nations around there as well in the Middle East. We need to have a breakthrough, and my position and the Australian government's position is consistent with the position that governments have held for a long period of time, consistent, it must be said, with what the Leader of the Opposition has said in the past of support for statehood when it comes to Palestinians.
Just on the demilitarising, there are a lot of armed groups within the Palestinian territories, not just Hamas. Doesn't the PA have the right to be able to control its own security in its own state?
We want a demilitarised state, and that's a commitment, one of the commitments that the Palestinian Authority themselves have given. Thanks very much.